blossoming superstars all over the diamond and a deep, productive farm system, the young Athletics are diving headlong into a potential American League playoff berth. Oakland's earned straight A's for manager Art Howe. If they make the playoffs, he can say, hey, they're talking about my generation.
It's the Budweiser Game of the Month, brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, official beer of Major League Baseball. This Bud's for you.
It's another beautiful day for baseball in Oakland, where the A's try to right the ship today against the Kansas City Royals. Oakland's dropped 2 games in a row. They're 4.5 games out in the American League wild card race behind the front-running Red Sox. Oakland 7 games behind the Rangers in the rough and tumble American League West. Hello again, everybody. I'm Chip Caray along with Jeff Torborg. Welcome to Oakland and the Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week. Jeff, this A's ball club, one of the great surprise stories in all of baseball. A very young, very talented, very powerful ball club here in Oakland.
Boy, they've got exceptional power in the middle of their order, and it makes them very exciting because they come up with these late-inning heroics with home runs. It's really something to watch. 3
players on this Oakland team with 30 or more homers. Only the 2nd time in the franchise's history that has happened. But more than power, more than great talent, Jeff, this team has terrific chemistry. These young players really enjoy the opportunity to play together, and that joy is translating into a lot of wins in this American League race.
It's like Little League here every day. Guys cannot wait to come to the club. But you know what? The reason why we're here is we've got great team chemistry in that room. We got 25 guys that may be all different individuals, but one team goal when we get in there. That's to win a ball game. No matter what, how we do it, who's the hero, it doesn't matter. When we come to the ballpark, guys can't wait to get on each other and rag on each other. I mean, it's all the way from top to bottom, to Billy Bean, to Art Howe. So, I mean, there's nobody above it.
Jeff, that kind of sounds like our telecast, but with all the new faces Oakland has added, they've really done a great job and even have lowered their payroll but improved in the standings.
Well, they have, because the new guys came to this club and said, man, these guys are having fun, and they fit right in right away.
Oakland's having a great year. We'll see if the magic carpet ride can continue for them this afternoon. Omar Olivares, one of those new faces, takes the mound for the Athletics. Left-hander Jose Rosado goes for the Royals, who try to play the role of the spoiler for the 2nd straight game. Gorgeous day in Oakland. We're glad you're with us. The Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week rolls on right after this. Had a great year in right. Sweeney is at first base for the Kansas City team. Joe Randa at third. Mark Quinn in left. Jeremy Giambi, the DH. Chad Kruger catches against Omar Olivares, the right-hander, seeking a career-high 15th win today. Ray Sanchez pops that ball into straightaway center field, where Christensen camps out. And Jeff, it's quickly 2 up, 2 down here in the first. What's up with Omar Olivares this year?
Well, Olivares has always been a very solid starter. Nothing spectacular. He's a sinker-slider type of pitcher. He gets a lot of ground balls, and he's the type of guy that keeps himself in a ball game because he fields well, he holds runners close. In fact, when he was in the National League, he was also a very good hitter. He really is not an exceptional type of spectacular type of performer, but he gets the job done.
He has been terrific since coming over to this Oakland ball club. He's won 6 of 7 decisions. And he is one big reason why this A's ball club is still deep in the hunt in the American League playoff race. But how about this kid, Carlos Beltran? The switch-hitting center fielder having a remarkable year. .290 batting average, 21 homers, 101 batted in. He's the first AL rookie to drive in 100 or more runs since Mark McGwire did it here in Oakland back in 1987. And he breaks his bat. Olivares knocks it down, picks it up, throws to first in time, and the Royals are retired 1-2-3 in the top half of the first. Nothing doing for Kansas City. Here come the powerful A's at home after this. Art Howe's starting lineup, and of course brought to you by Budweiser. Ryan Christensen leads things off in center field. Then it's Randy Velarde at second. Jason Giambi, a great year at first base, has been red hot since the All-Star break. One of the great bargains in baseball, John Jaha, the designated hitter. Matt Stairs in right. Olmando Sáenz at third base. Hernandez behind the plate. Miguel Tejada at short. And McDonald, the left fielder, bats ninth against left-hander Jose Rosado.
As you look at Rosado's numbers, you can see 8 and 13 don't indicate the kind of year he's had. The ERA 3.86 does a little bit more. He is a kid who is around the plate with everything he throws. Nothing spectacular again. 2 types of fastballs, 4-seam and a 2-seam. He makes the ball sink and run a little bit. Good big sweeping curveball, an occasional cutter, and then he has a changeup with a slight sink. It's very close to a circle change, but he has got to be on his control.
He's walked 66 men in 188 and 2/3 innings, and if you walk people ahead of the heart of this Oakland order, you are asking for trouble. Our broadcast also available in Spanish by utilizing the SAP or SAP button on your television. Ryan Christensen leads it off. He's the starting center fielder in the game today. And in the platoon system for Oakland, he has done a great job against the Southpaws, hitting .312 against lefties, only .166 against right-handed pitching this year. But he has not hit all that well in that leadoff spot. That takes a very special talent. One of the best in the history of the game used to play here in Oakland, a guy by the name of Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Boy, has he made an art of it. He's the guy that they think prototypically might be the best leadoff hitter of all time. It's tough to lead off, especially for a young player who hasn't done it before, not knowing exactly how with 2 strikes to hit.
In for a strike. He was backing away from that ball. It evens up 2-2.
And what I mean with 2 strikes, your leadoff hitter, preferably, you'd like to see him go deep in the count. So meaning a lot of the time, you'll be hitting with 2 strikes on you, and you're not afraid to make a mistake and get deep in the count.
A hot smash up the middle under the glove of Fabulous into right center field. It's a leadoff single for Christensen. Big turnaround first. But Beltran has one of the best arms in the league. And it's a leadoff single for Christensen, and Oakland's red-hot offense gets going here early.
Well, that's important when one of your kids who you're not really counting on necessarily as a big gun gets the job done to get things started. Because if you have base runners, it makes a major difference down the rest of your lineup how they're pitched.
So that brings up Randy Velarde, the second baseman, batting second, hitting .311 with 14 home runs. He's driven in 66. He has really helped solidify the middle infield. This Oakland team, of course, lost the very fiery Tony Phillips. But Billy Beane, one of the bright young general managers in the game of baseball, very aggressive at the trade deadline, went out, made a lot of moves, lowered the payroll for this ball club, solidified the future by trading away Kenny Rogers, and helped this team in the present in their quest for a playoff berth this year. That is some amazing work in about a 3 or 4 day period.
Well, it's amazing when you think about it around baseball. When you saw the Kenny Rogers trade, you said, what happened? Did Oakland give up? Well, within a week, he'd made all the rest of the moves that were based on getting the salary taken care of and having room to bring the other players in. Randy Velarde's a winner. He started out with the Yankee organization, and he has been on winning teams and knows how to play.
That ball smacked to the right side, but foul and out of play.
When I first saw Velarde, he was a shortstop. He had come through the White Sox organization. The Yankees were able to acquire him. And when they moved him over to second base, he takes those traits that he had at shortstop, you know, to be able to have good range and a good arm at shortstop, take it to second base, you really got something. And Randy Velarde got stronger and stronger as his career went along. He's always hit the ball very well to the right side of the field. That's why he's very good in the number 2 spot.
Under his chin with the 0-2 pitch. 1-2 the count now from 24-year-old left-hander Jose Rosado. A 9-game hitting streak for Velarde.
Oh, you remember Velarde a couple years ago hurt his throwing arm so badly, his elbow, he had to have surgery. He just couldn't play at all. Came back, and in one of the first games he came back, he had a home run in it. In fact, I think the first 2 games he came back for, he hit home runs in it. That shows you the kind of hitter that he was, even after having been injured all that time.
Well, he has become a veteran leader on what is a very young baseball team in Oakland. The 2-2 is popped and into the seats. Oakland's offense since the trade acquisition of Randy Velarde, they have taken off. Almost a run a game more, a much better batting average, and you see 13 games over 500 since the trade was made. And a real quirk of this ball club, they're next to last in batting average in the league, but they're 4th in runs.
Well, they have good pop. They'll take the walk. And when you think about what they do in the middle of their order, I mean, everybody in this lineup can hit the ball at the ballpark, including Velarde. Randy Velarde's got that kind of strength, but if you're watching him now, and as you see Matt Stairs, there's a guy that grips and rips, boy. He rears back and tries to hit it as far as he can, but Velarde, even now, in this count at 2-2, is still trying to hit the ball to the right side.
May not have to if Rosado misses again. The count's full 3-2. Christensen 6 out of 11 in stolen bases. Velarde trying to help set the table for this Oakland ball club. Has struck out 90 times, only 34 times in 45 games for the Oakland team.
Well, this is a spot where Art Howe might run his runner. If they feel confident that Rosado doesn't have a great move, they might run.
He is running, and it's ball 4 high. 2 are on, none are out. And defensively, Kansas City shapes up this way. 2 of the best arms in the outfield in center and right. That's where Beltran and Dye work. And then around the horn, Jeff, Randa, Sanchez, Fabulous at second base. Sweeney at first. Chad Kruder is behind the plate.
Well, you can feel and hear the buzz in this ballpark when you get to this spot in the order. Jason Giambi, what a free spirit this guy is. He is so enthusiastic. Talking with him yesterday, it was fun to listen to him. You know, he's loving what he's doing, and he said he's not the only one in this ball club doing it. Look at the size of him. He's up over 230 some pounds. When he first came up to this ball club, until he came under the influence of Mark McGuire, he weighed about 200 pounds. He is really strong.
Boy, you'd expect that from a guy whose favorite baseball player was Mickey Mantle. Grew up a big Yankees fan. And the pitch hits him on the arm. Rosado having all kinds of first inning problems. A single, a walk, and a hit batsman loads the bases for the designated hitter, John Jaha, and there's nobody out.
Now, obviously, you don't want to do this. You can see where Rosado dropped down. He was trying to throw the ball from the side a little bit, and the ball tailed back and ran right into Giambi, who took the shot on his shoulder. Now, this is tough on any pitcher, especially a young pitcher. This is a very poised young pitcher. He's already made 2 All-Star teams. Mark Wiley, the very, very successful pitching coach for several years with the Cleveland Indians, now here in Kansas City, is out just to settle him down a little bit. Chad Kruder on the mound, the catcher, is a very experienced and polished catcher handling pitchers.
And now Rosado in a big, big problem. He's facing one of the great comeback stories in all of baseball in DH John Jaha. Last year he was limited to only 73 games with the Milwaukee Brewers. Had ligament problems in his left foot. He injured the foot back in April against the Los Angeles Dodgers. He hit just 7 home runs and 38 driven in for the entire campaign. But when healthy, in '96, Jaha in 148 games hit 300, 34 homers, and 118 batted in. So when healthy, this guy is a big-time run producer, and he has been that in the middle of this order for the A's all year long. And he's ahead in the count, ball 1.
What impressed me so much years ago about Jaha was when he was with the Brewers, you normally think about a big, strong pull hitter being your power type hitter. This guy can hit the ball to right field real well and the ball out over the plate. So what you normally see, as you see Rosado really digging a big hole for himself right now, is when you see a real powerful type hitter, a lot of times you don't think about him hitting the ball the other way, and that's what this guy can. So it means it's very difficult to pitch to him.
2-0, had a big swing and he missed it. Rosado took a little off and the count moves to 2-1. The A's signed Jaha to a 1-year contract for $400,000. That's a lot of money, but not by baseball standards for the kinds of numbers this man is putting up. 32 homers and 100 batted in. And now the count evens at 2-2.
No, you're right. When you have a guy that can produce like this, but the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, when he was injured, that just tore him down, and Milwaukee couldn't take a chance of a guy going through another season, having to pay him, and they're having payroll problems, pay him and also have him hurt. They didn't realize, nobody realized that he was going to have this kind of year, obviously.
Well, every year there's 1 or 2 guys in each league that surprises you. Line drive off the glove of Sanchez, left field, base hit. Christensen scores. Velarde rounds third. He'll come home, and Oakland leads by 2. Still nobody out. Jaha drives in numbers 101 and 102 with a rope into left field.
Well, Chip, this was really a good bit of base running by Randy Velarde. You can see Jaha hit this ball, and he hits a rocket, but he hits it right at the shortstop. See the extension he got? He hits it toward the shortstop. Velarde from second base read and recognized that the shortstop was not going to be able to get to the ball. Sanchez could not get up to the ball, but at first it looked like it was right at him. Velarde never hesitated. That's why the second run came in so quickly.
So 2 are in, 2 are on, none out for Matt Stairs. The lefty-lefty matchup here. And Stairs takes a strike. 35 home runs for the right fielder of the Athletics. That's 7th best total in the American League. He's 2 RBIs away from the century mark. Just think about this Oakland team next year when they get Mr. Mulder up from the minor leagues. One of their draft picks from a year ago. They say he's a can't-miss prospect. This team has a chance to be very, very good, very, very inexpensive payroll-wise for a very, very long time. Way high from Rosado. It's 2-1.
Now you look at this count, and you got a young left-hander on the mound, and you got a Matt Stairs who is really an interesting hitter to watch. He's like the kid hitting in the backyard in a wiffle ball game. He just gets the bat out, turns around, looks for the ball, and goes to hacking. Now, if you get a left-hander on the mound who makes a mistake with a breaking ball or something over the plate, that's what Stairs will crush.
That ball ripped toward the right field gap. Dye on the run. He gallops over, and the big right fielder makes the catch, and there is out number 1. Stairs flies to right, and the runners hold at first and second. That is a big out for Rosado now. If he can get the ground ball, he could get the double play that ends the threat.
As you see the catch by Jermaine Dye, here's a guy that's really gotten his act together. He was a very highly thought of prospect with the Braves and got traded over after the '96 season. Even played in the World Series, but he's been injured. Well, now as you see him rolling around that outfield, he is a very good outfielder. And you're absolutely right that Rosado made a good pitch to get away in that situation, but he's got a long way to go here.
And here's Saenz, the third baseman. Well, I bet the White Sox wish they had this guy playing third base for them. 281 average, 11 homers, 38 driven in. White Sox have had all kinds of infield problems. This guy could have solved a lot of them, but he was not able to stick in the Sox organization. Swung late that time. And he's in a quick 0-2 hole.
Well, what they like about Saenz here in Oakland is that he is a veteran, having been in the minor leagues a lot, not at the major league level, but he's a guy that knows how to play the game. And they said they've had to use him in spot starts, in roles, and that's not easy for a guy that hasn't been in the big leagues too long. But they say he's an experienced type of guy, knowing the game and knowing his role.
0-2. A little chopper left side. Joe Randa up to second one. Can they turn it in time? No. Jaha went in hard at second. Got enough to maybe alter that throw to first. But Kansas City gets Jaha for out number 2. Giambi to third. Saenz at first with 2 away.
Well, this is a good pitch by Rosado, and as you can see Randa making the play. They make a real quick turn. Fables makes a real quick turn, but it was a slow developing play, and Saenz did beat it out.
So that brings up young Ramon Hernandez, the pride of Caracas, Venezuela. He's just 23 years old, a non-drafted free agent signee by the Athletics organization. He's played well this year, making the jump from Vancouver in AAA, where he hit .261. Here with Oakland, 3 homers, 17 batted in.
Well, he's a big kid. He's about 6 feet tall, almost 230 pounds. They like this guy.
For a big guy, you have to like this stat, Jeff. Just 9 strikeouts, 13 walks in 107 at-bats this year. Well, young men that know the strike zone are seemingly a rare breed these days. And he has done very good work behind the dish. Chopped toward third, just foul. And it's a strike to Hernandez. 2-0 Oakland has the lead. Rosado gave up a single, a walk, a hit batsman, then a base hit to Jaha before he retired a single man. And he trails by 2 here in the first inning. Oakland trying to increase their best AL home record to 48-25 with a victory today. Runners at the corners. The 2-1. And now it's 2-2.
Well, as you watch young Rosado pitch, you can see how he changes speeds. He throws fastballs in and out, and he's got the great changeup. His curveball he can't get down, so he's gone away from it. But because of that changeup, he's got great arm action, and it looks like a fastball, and then the ball never gets there.
Over but low. Count full now, 3-2. So Saenz will be off and running with 2 men down. Very sparse crowd here in Oakland again. But the fans that are here have enjoyed the beginning of this game. Runner goes, pitch, ground ball in between, hop handled by Aranda. The throw to first in time retires the A's in the first. They score a couple of runs on 2 hits. They leave a pair stranded. Jermaine died to lead it off for Kansas City in the second. It's 2-0, and Jermaine Dye finally healthy. Jeff has finally become the guy that Kansas City thought they were getting when they dealt Michael Tucker and Keith Lockhart, I should say, to the Atlanta Braves for Dye and pitcher Jamie Walker back in 1997.
That's true. He was a very talented young player coming up to the Braves. But then when you're banged up, it really robbed you of your skills, and he just struggled. He was bouncing back for 2 years, back and forth from the major leagues to the minor leagues with one injury after another, and now he's putting it together. He's a good young player, an exceptional outfielder with a good arm.
And a big hombre. And he draws a leadoff walk here in the second inning. Dye is 6'4", 225 pounds, and only 25 years of age with 25 homers and 109 batted in. And a good start here in the Kansas City second against right-hander Omar Olivares.
Now batting number 49, Mike Sweeney.
Here's Mike Sweeney. What a year this guy has had. Remember, Kansas City stunned earlier this year when Jeff King decided to retire. They had nobody to play first base, so they said, all right, we'll stick Sweeney over there. Well, all he's done is hit .321 with 21 homers, and he's knocking at 100 RBIs.
Yeah, he's really done a nice job offensively. Trying to learn the first base job at the major league level is tough. Anytime you try to learn a new position at the major league level in a championship season is really tough, but that sure hasn't affected his offense.
Sweeney also a young man. He's only 25 years of age. A 10th round pick by Kansas City in 1991. And Olivares having some problems with the control here in the second inning. He got the Royals 1-2-3 in the first, but he's missed with the first 2 to Sweeney.
Well, if you watch Olivares pitch and you watch the gun readings, you're never going to see anything near 90 very often.
Chopper hit toward third and out of the glove of Saenz into left field for a base hit. So 2 are on, none are out for Kansas City here in the second inning. A hot rocket under the hot corner glove of Saenz.
Well, when you watch Olivares pitch, he gives up more hits than innings pitched, but he gets a lot of ground balls because he's a sinker ball pitcher. Now, if you watch this pitch, you see it start to sink, but it was starting too high, and you can see how well Sweeney stayed back on it, and it was at least belt high, and the ball was hit through the infield on the left side. But Olivares, in order to make his ball be effective, he's got to start it from the belt down. He can't start it higher. He's got to get the action down from the belt downward.
And that brings third baseman Joe Randa to the plate. He too has very quietly had a very solid season. Randa began his big league career with Kansas City, then went to Pittsburgh and Detroit, and now is of course back in Kansas City. He has 76 runs batted in, and that one skied into shallow right. Matt Stairs comes on. He's got it, and there's out number 1. Randa is 0 for 1, and here's Mark Quinn. What a debut for this young man. First big league ball game, not 1 but 2 home runs. Just the way you broke in, right? Only the 3rd player in the history of the game to accomplish that amazing feat. Both of them, Jeff, no doubters.
No, but it's not a real surprise. 2 home runs are, but he won the batting title in the Pacific Coast League this year. I mean, he's had a good year. You know, one of the guys that did the same thing in his first major league game was Bert Campaneris, and that was with Kansas City, the Kansas City Athletics at the time. The other being Bob Neiman back in the 50s.
That one popped up on the infield fly rule. That should be handled and will be by Velarde. So a leadoff walk, a single by Sweeney. Randa and Quinn unable to advance or score the base runners. And now the DH, Jeremy Giambi, will be the batter for Kansas City. Good teams take advantage of situations like the one Kansas City was presented here in the second inning. But they have struggled for most of the year. So it's the battle of the Royals and the A's and the battle of the Giambi brothers. Jason hit by a pitch his first time up. We'll see if Jeremy can drive in the first KC run here. A high pop. Won't do it this time. Matt Stairs has plenty of room here in Oakland. He's got it. The inning is over. A leadoff walk, then a single. 2 flyouts, 1 pop out. Ends the Kansas City threat in the second. And after 1.5 here at Network Associates Coliseum. Art Howe, the manager of this Oakland ball club, trying to right the ship. They've dropped their last 2 ball games, Jeff. They're 4.5 games out in the wild card, which is their largest deficit since July. They're scoreboard watching. They're seeing everything that Boston is doing, and Boston has been playing great. They finished up a 12-game road trip, 9-3 for the Red Sox. Now they're back home against the Tigers. In fact, they're winning again today by a score of 2-0. But Art Howe can't worry about what Boston's doing. Oakland pretty much, Jeff, is in a situation where they're going to have to win every day and hope Boston loses a couple of games in a row just to make up this deficit.
Yeah, you're running out of time, and that's the problem. Art Howe has done a tremendous job here with this ball club. They are really fun to watch. They're a really exciting team.
The shortstop, Miguel Tejada, leads things off, and he's in a quick hole, 0-2. Rosado had all kinds of control problems the first time around, and that one scalded straight back.
You know, when you think about this Oakland ball club, and you've got a guy batting in the 8th spot with 18 home runs and 76 RBIs, a young kid like this Tejada, you know that they've got some firepower. Batting average at 239, well, you know you'd like to see him make better contact, be on base more often, but boy, you'll take your chances with that kind of pop.
Back toward us and into the seats.
But you mentioned it earlier, Billy Beane did a terrific job going out and getting help for a ball club that was really battling. Nobody expected this team was picked to finish last in the division. Then the Angels have had a terrible year. Seattle has struggled.
Looping line drive over short. That'll drop for Tejada. That's the third Oakland hit. He's trying for 2. The throw not in time. A hustle double. Well, you love to see players put their head down and just bust it on the base pass, and that's what Tejada does, leading off inning number 2. Boy, he caught everybody by surprise.
Good point, Chip. If you watch him as he hits the ball, he comes out of the batter's box and he's busting it right from the beginning. He has this in his mind when he sees where it's going in the alley. Here he goes. He sees where it is in the alley, and he's hustling right now. He's thinking about possibly 2 right from there, and then all of a sudden he turns on the Jets. Boy, that enthusiasm. I'll tell you, run the bases effectively like that turns on a dugout.
And that brings McDonald up. He shows bunt, trying to get Tejada to third base with 1 out here in the second inning. Maybe he'll try to drive him in now as he takes a quick strike.
Well, oftentimes in this situation, the manager will leave it up to the hitter. Get him over there. If you don't feel like you can shoot it to the right side as a right-handed hitter, bunt.
He does bunt, and it's a beautiful bunt. Randa has only 1 play. It's to first. Good sacrifice. 5-3 to put out. Tejada to third, 1 away.
This is a nice bunt. He does this as though he was giving the technique that he is trying to bunt for a base hit, but he's not. But that's the way he knows how to bunt. He lays it down with a drop step and a beautiful bunt. Only 1 place to go to first base. Inside baseball. So often you play for 1 run, you get more. If you don't try to be greedy and you just try to do the little things in the game, very often you'll have bonuses out of it.
That's McDonald's 4th sacrifice, and that brings Christensen up. A base hit, a run scored already in this game. And Rosado doesn't have the kind of stuff, Jeff, to pitch consistently behind and win in the major leagues. He's not an overpowering left-hander. Appears he has to hit his spots, and he has not done that so far in this game.
That's very true. He's not spotting his fastball. He can get away with 2 pitches. He can go with his fastballs and the changeup.
That one lined out of play off to the right side.
But he's got to be sharp with his fastball in order to set up his changeup. His curveball has been big. He's always had a big breaker. So he has a little problem getting the feel of that occasionally. That's what a changeup and a curveball often are, very tough field pitches. But if you don't locate your fastball, you're going to be in trouble all the time.
Mark Wiley looking on anxiously in the Kansas City dugout. The 1-1 is again popped away. And the count moves to 1-2. They are hoping this guy will be able to anchor their starting rotation. Of course, they traded their ace, Kevin Appier, to this Oakland ball club for 3 minor league pitchers. The Royals and A's both have a very much muddled ownership situation that they are trying to have resolved in baseball now. Infield charges in. Chopper towards short. Sanchez coming home. The throw is not in time. Tejada slides around the tag. And it's 3-0 Oakland.
I'll tell you what, the Royals had their infield playing in. They came to the plate. Tejada broke immediately on that chopper. And with a great slide, somehow he gets around Chad Kreuter. The slide is what gets him in. Here's the throw from Sanchez. Here's Kreuter. You can see what happened is Kreuter had to come up the line a little bit. Kreuter had to get off the plate and come up the line just a little bit. See, he's up a little bit off the plate. And here comes Tejada around him, and he touches it with his left hand. That was a great slide.
So an RBI for Christensen on the fielder's choice. 3-0 Oakland. Runner at first, 1 out. The sacrifice does pay dividends for the Athletics. And here is Velarde, who's walked in the first, helped start that 2-run frame for Art Howe's team. You're right. Play for 1. Sometimes you get more. First time I've heard it explained that way. And Oakland in business to do that with their 2, 3, 4 hitters now expected. Time is called, so no play on that toss to first by Rosado.
Chip, when you see a situation like we have right now, you've got a batter at the plate with Randy Velarde who can really handle a bat and can shoot the ball to right field. You got a base runner in Christensen at first who can run. This is an ideal hit and run situation unless you're afraid that the left-handed pitcher will hold you too close.
That one popped up toward first. Should be easy for Sweeney. He backs up in foul ground, and Sweeney makes the play, and there's out number 2. So Velarde fails to advance Christensen. He stays at first base. And now Jason Giambi, the batter, he was hit by a pitch his first time up.
Now, to explain what I was trying to say before, when you have a left-handed pitcher on the mound in a hit-and-run situation, a lot of managers don't like to hit and run with a left-handed pitcher because the runner doesn't get a big enough jump. So that means it doesn't pull an infielder out of position. Now, Jose Rosado just used what we call a slide step, a quick step to the plate, also to keep the runner close at first base.
No slide step that time, and a rocket hit toward right center field. That'll drop. Christensen really can fly. He's at second. Now he's at third, and he gets the stop sign there. First and third, 2 outs. And John Jaha, a chance for another RBI or 2 here in the second inning.
Well, here's the pitch. You'll watch Giambi takes this big swing, and he hits it off the end of the bat. And when you got a guy that's so strong, they have to play deep on him. Now he hits it off the end of the bat. It doesn't go anywhere. It dumps in the outfield in front of the outfielders because they have to play safely in the deep position. But you're right. To watch a guy like Christensen get from first to third, boy, he was flying.
I love the speed game. Those guys that can run like that, man, it is poetry in motion. So first and third for Jaha, who in his last 10 games had only driven in 4 runs. He's got 2 and 1 at bat today. And he takes a quick strike, 0-1.
You know, we look at times at styles of hitters, how hitters go up and what kind of styles they use. You can see Jaha's trying to stay relaxed. He almost puts the bat on his shoulder. He keeps it there. Now when the pitcher comes in, he quickly takes it off and he's ready to go. You see a lot of hitters, Major League Baseball, doing that. Instead of getting ready early where they get tense and pull off the ball, they try to stay as relaxed as they can and then make their move as the pitcher's coming.
No balls, 1 strike. And again, time is called. Where's his happy zone?
Well, look at this hit zone. It gives you a little idea. Where it's red is the place that he hits the ball best. He likes the ball way up and in, but basically he likes to get his arms extended, as we talked about, out over the plate.
He missed that pitch. 0-2.
Those hit zones are great. Those are things that you would use on the major league level in your meetings with your pitchers and catchers. Instead of making a long spiel, don't do this, don't do that, you show them the picture of the hit zone and say, this is where he's hot. Pitch to the other areas.
No balls, 2 strikes. They're at the corners again for Oakland. And it misses high, 1-2. In our tease before the game, we played the Who Are You song. Folks around baseball are going to know who these guys are on this Oakland team at season's end. There are going to be a lot of honors handed out, and justifiably so. He is called out on strikes as Jaha. Nasty breaking ball on the inner corner. He couldn't pull the trigger. And Oakland settles for 1 in inning number 2. They lead by 3, and we'll be back after this from your local Fox station. Making just his 3rd start since the end of August. The reason? A dreadful batting slump. 0 for 38 at one point. And the average down to 226. But Cruder, a valuable commodity, a switch hitting backstop, who calls a pretty good game behind the dish. That one rolled weakly toward first. That's easy for Giambi. He'll take it himself. And there's out number 1 here in the Royals' 3rd.
Well, that's what you would call a kitchen shot. That's what the ball players will say. If a pitcher gets the ball in on a hitter, they'll say they got it in the kitchen. It means they got it on the thin part of the handle where the ball doesn't go anywhere. They'll also yell, hey, the ball stuck to the handle. You know, baseball humor screaming out of the dugout sometimes can be not exactly intelligent stuff, but it's kind of funny if you listen to it.
So here's Fabulous. He bounced out to the shortstop his first time up. They have quite a middle infield with Sanchez and Fabulous at short and second. The question for Kansas City will be, can they keep Sanchez in a Royal uniform? There is the former Cub and current Royal. He has been just terrific for them.
He's a good player. Do you remember when he went over the Yankees for the stretch run a couple years ago? And then, of course, he played with the Giants as well. But this kid, Carlos Fabulous and Carlos Beltran, the center fielder, are 2 stars for many years to come if they stay healthy. This kid can fly.
And he's just a baby, only 23 years old. A non-drafted free agent signed by Kansas City. And everywhere he has played in the minor leagues, he has hit, and hit very well.
And run well. He had 51 stolen bases 2 years ago at Wichita.
That one dumped over first, and it's into foul ground. The count 2-2 for him now. He's got 19 steals this year, 10 homers, 50 RBIs. He's only been caught stealing 4 times. Defensively, 13 errors. That's something I'm sure the Royals would like to see him improve next season.
You know, he's really made the quick move up through the ladder, because in '98 he was in 3 categories: Wilmington, Wichita, and the big leagues.
Strike 3 called inside corner. That ball sunk over the inside edge, and Fabulous couldn't swing.
Well, again, remember what we were saying about it. You see this pitch sink, and that was a very good call, Chip. When you see Oliveira's pitch, it's not the rocketing fastball or nasty looking balls falling out of the strike zone on split fingers. He's a sinker ball pitcher with a sharp slider, and he just moves the ball around and makes you either miss his pitch or hit the pitch that he wants you to hit.
There's a strike to Sanchez, who popped to center his first time up. Wonder where he'll end up if he doesn't stay in Kansas City. A .292 hitter with 50 batted in and a couple of home runs.
Well, that's a commodity at shortstop. You play good defense in the middle, you're consistent, and you can drive in 50 runs. The key is, can he play every day? That had been the question for a while during his career, and some talk that he was not a real strong everyday type of player, but he certainly has got some tools.
No balls, 2 strikes. High drive hammered toward right, playable for Stairs. He drifts back, he's under it, he has it, and the Royals are retired. 1, 2, 3 in the third. Casey just 1 hit. Matt Stairs set to go in the middle of the third.
And everyone knows my theory is grip and rip. Swing as hard as I can, see how far the ball goes, and you know, that's just the approach I take. But it's something that I think, you know, I'm glad that I changed my stance back in '96, and it's worked out well. And I'm still going to go up there and swing hard. If I strike out, I strike out. If I hit a bomb, there you go. We're on the board.
I love the guy's honesty. 35 homers, 98 driven in, 0 for 1 today, and he looks at a strike, 0-1. What about that change in his stance, Jeff? What have you noticed?
Well, when I first saw him, he came up with Montreal. He was a dead fastball hitter with an open stance, but he held his hands real high. He's dropped his hands. We can take a look. He stretches his hands out when he gets prepared. You can see he starts. Now look where his hands are. They're down in this area and they're vertical. They used to be real high. And he uses his high leg kick. It keeps his weight back. So he does 2 things in conjunction. He starts with his hands in a vertical position low around the letters, and then he lifts his front foot. And that pushes his weight back. But when I first saw him with Montreal, I knew he was a fastball hitter because he crushed us. Every pitch we threw him hard, he hit it hard. But his hands were quite a bit higher, wrapped up around his head, and he didn't get the loft he gets now.
Little looping fly ball into right center field. Beltran can't get it. It's going to roll to the warning track. And Stairs gallops into second with a stand-up double. So he is 1 out of 2, his 24th 2-base hit. And again, Oakland has the leadoff man aboard for the 3rd consecutive inning.
Watch this. We'll take a look when we take a shot at Stairs in the replay here. Watch how he reaches for the ball, but the ball jumps off his bat. Look, he hardly swung at that ball, and the ball took off into the alley. Watch this. See how he keeps his weight back, and with just one hand, he snapped that ball, and that thing took off up the alley. It looked like it was a little dump shot, and instead it was a rocket up the alley. That shows how strong he is.
Well, yeah, look at the forearms on that man. I mean, he looks like Paul Bunyan out there with those beefy forearms.
Grip and rip, he says.
So he grips, he rips. He's at second with nobody out for the 3rd baseman, Saenz. And a ball outside. Interesting question is, who's the best Canadian right fielder in baseball? Is it Matt Stairs of Oakland or Larry Walker from Colorado?
Uh-oh. That's kind of a tough comparison. Larry Walker is really some special player. Stairs has really established himself, but Larry Walker's in a league by himself, I think.
1 ball, 1 strike. Okay, let me put it this way, Smarty Pants. Who's the best right fielder from St. John, New Brunswick, Canada?
Okay, that would be Matt Stairs. We'll take that.
All right.
That's not knocking Matt Stairs. So you're comparing him to a great player.
Well,
now.
but who's the best player then from Maple Ridge, British Columbia? That's got to be Larry Walker.
If you say so, I'll accept that.
It's about time. 1 ball, 1 strike. The pitch is swung line down the left field line. That's going to be into the corner off the wall. Stairs will score. Saenz on his way to second. The throw is in time. They got it. Perfect relay throw from Quinn into Fabulous. It's a single and RBI. Saenz out trying to stretch it into a double. But it's 4-0 Oakland, and so far Mr. Rosado has very little out on that mound.
As you see this throw, it's on a fly. You know, this is great. Oh, the tag right at the last minute. Tim Welke, the umpire, was in perfect position, and he waited. You notice he didn't make an automatic call. He waited to see what happened. He got this call perfectly. This is a good umpiring crew here. Tim Welke, the crew chief, is a very good umpire. You got a bunch of young umpires in this group, and they really work hard.
And there are today's men in blue.
That was Mike DeMuro at 3rd base, whose father, Lou DeMuro, was an outstanding umpire. Tragedy when he was umpiring. He got hit by a car in Texas, was killed just outside his hotel. And of course, Terry Kraft behind the plate has been a good umpire in this league for a number of years. Very consistent umpire, nothing flamboyant. That's what you like to see. Very quiet, gets the job done.
3 balls and a strike to Ramon Hernandez, the Oakland catcher. Jose Rosado has been shellacked so far in this game. He's already given up 4 runs on 6 hits and only 1 out in the 3rd. And that's in. Running the count full, 3-2.
Watching Rosado pitch, you kind of get a feeling he's not real fluid, and I don't know him well enough, but at times you see a pitcher throwing kind of herky-jerky because he's normally a smooth pitcher. You wonder if he's got a little tender arm because he's not popping the ball. Obviously, we said in the beginning he's not this big strikeout pitcher. He's got to locate, but it's not like he's sharp. He's not crisp with where he's throwing the ball.
And I think the Royals are thinking along with you. They're going to get that bullpen up. And again, Mark Wiley's going to pop out and have a chat with young 24-year-old left-hander Jose Rosado here. Miguel Tejada will be the batter. And friends, next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Diamondbacks continue to gear up for their postseason run as they clash with Barry Bonds and the Giants in a huge series. Plus other great regional action. Cardinals try to spoil the Reds' playoff hopes. The Mets try to close the gap on the Braves as they visit the Phillies. All our coverage begins with In the Zone, followed by the E-Trade pregame show only on Fox. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. The Western Division shapes up this way. The Giants are 6 games back. They host the Diamondbacks for a 3-game set. They still have hopes that they're going to catch Arizona. The D-backs have lost 2 in a row. San Francisco has won 6 in a row. And Heath Murray is up in the Kansas City pen. 4-0 in favor of Oakland. We're in the bottom half of the 3rd inning. Tejada has doubled and scored, and that's out of play off to the right side. In the other baseball today, Cincinnati shut out the Pirates 3-0. And Houston was clobbered by the Cardinals 13-6. So the Reds suddenly now 2.5 games back of the Astros, who have lost their last 3. So that race not over by a long shot. Cincinnati plays Houston 2 more times, both games in the Astrodome. And they have dominated Houston this year. They've won, I believe, 8 of the 11 games played.
And they swept them the 4 games in the Astrodome, where they're normally not that successful. So Jack McKeon's bunch knows they can win there.
0-2 now, 1-2 the count to the A's shortstop.
Well, you look at Cincinnati and you know that they really have an uphill battle, both in their own division against Houston and also chasing the Mets. The Mets until last night, where they were beaten by the Phillies, have been red hot.
That skips up there and skips past Chad Kruder. Hernandez at second, big turn, and he draws a throw, and he heads back to the second base bag. Kruder had no chance to stop that wild pitch.
Anytime you have a pitch that's way out in front, take a look at this. See how far out in front it hits? It's way in front of the plate. The catcher, all he tries to do is get in front of the ball and square off his body with it, because when it's way out in front, you don't know if it's going to hop real high or go to the side. And Kruder even just tried to use his bare arm but couldn't do it. Things that catchers really have problems with are balls hitting off the plate too. That's the thing that worries you most. If it hits off the plate, it could bounce over your head.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 1 on, 1 out. And he took a shot at right field. Good piece of hitting there, and he fouled it away. This guy has tremendous power potential. Miguel Tejada has hit for power. 18 home runs, 76 RBIs, but has a tendency to strike out and not make contact in big situations from time to time for this Oakland team. That's why he's batting lower in the order. But he is a big shot of dynamite in a small package, and that ball belted deep toward left. Oh, long 2-run homer. That's what we're talking about. 19 home runs, 78 driven in, and it's 6-0 Athletics.
You were just talking about the kind of power potential he has. Remember, he's only a baby. He's 23 years old only. Coming to the major league level to play at shortstop in the middle of your defense. Normally, when you come to the big leagues, all they're concerned about is your defense. They're getting bonuses here. Talking about Rosado not locating. Here's a high fastball, and Tejada makes him pay. Look at his hands. The head of the bat get through, and that's way back on those cement steps.
And Rosado is going to be yanked from this ball game. A most ineffective start for him today. And you wonder if his arm is all right, because he had very little on his fastball today. Oakland by 6. We're still in the 3rd. Back with more from Oakland right after this. Dan Murray. Oakland by 6. And the young right-hander making his 3rd appearance for the Royals this year.
So Dan Murray came over from the Mets. He had pitched at San Diego State. He was a teammate of the Diamondbacks first baseman Travis Lee. When you got a young pitcher, you're never sure what you're going to do, and especially when you get him from another ball club. So a lot of times you stick him in the middle of your bullpen just to see what he's able to do. And as you can see, in 4 innings, he'd get him up to 5 hits.
And Tony Muser, the manager of this Kansas City ball club, kind enough to wear a microphone for Fox's Sounds of the Game, had this to say when he went to get his young left-handed pitcher.
All right, Rose. What wasn't happening today for you? Change up too hard?
Change-up was all right. His balls were left up a little bit.
No little scoot to the fastball? You feel strong? Too strong?
No, he's not too strong.
Huh?
Here you go. You have a chance, okay? Come on.
Okay. Come on, Mark. Let's go.
Yeah, he said it. He did not feel strong. And I think that was evident. As you said, Jeff, very little pop on that fastball. He's not going to overpower people, but still didn't have that little extra zip on the heater today. So he departs 6 runs, 7 hits in 2 innings and 1/3. And 70 pitches for the All-Star.
You know, that's nice to hear the sounds of the game, to hear the inside. There is a manager going out. He knows this young kid pitcher just gotten banged around. It's not working. He's very patient, very positive. What went wrong today? Kind of even teaching at that point.
A little looper into right field. Dye has to play it safe, and McDonald's aboard. He sacrificed his first time. Now Blutes a single. And that's the 8th Oakland base hit in this game. These guys really can bang, and they're trying to gain some revenge. Last night, Oakland was beaten by this Royal team. The final score in that game, 9-3.
Well, all season long, Kansas City has knocked the dickens out of the Oakland Ball Club. Sometimes it just doesn't work. You talk about matchups in other sports. Well, sometimes there are matchups on a baseball field, too. Your club maybe is not as quick as the other team. Their pitchers look good against you. I'll tell you what, both these teams you're talking about, when you get into the payroll talk, and a lot of people, fans don't want to hear payroll, but you're talking about 2 young teams that have some exciting young players coming along. And they're both, here you can see what's happened this year in Oakland. This bunch has come in a hurry with the addition of some veterans such as Olivares. Kansas City's not that far away if they can get some pitching help.
And especially some bullpen help. That's called a strike. It's 0-2 to Christensen. The crowd not happy with that call by Jim Joyce. The Royals, depending on which statistical service you believe, have blown either 30 or 31 saves, which would be a major league record that they share with the Cardinals here in 1999. 31 blown saves, and nothing rips the heart out of a young ball club than opportunities to win that you see turn into big losses in the late innings.
Well, look at what's done to this guy. This guy's mustache was jet black when the season began. But Tony Muser was saying last night they had the lead 57 times going into the 7th inning and couldn't hold it. 57 times this year. And that really does hurt, especially your offense that has to dig and keep pushing, and it's not a big power long ball hitting team necessarily. So that means you have to work for every run, and it really becomes frustrating. When you have a lead in the game, you feel like that's your game.
Runner goes, 1-2 pitch popped up out of play. Look for Kansas City either through trade or perhaps free agency, if they can get their ownership situation straightened out, to go after a closer or someone that they think can close games out, because that has been a huge glaring weakness on this ball club. Of course, the ownership situation for both the A's and the Royals was tabled by baseball's ownership meetings held earlier this week in Cooperstown. fact, the Royals have been without a true owner since Mr. Kaufman passed away in 1993.
Yeah, it's a shame to see what's happened in Kansas City. That's a great baseball town with a magnificent stadium. That is a beautiful complex there. The contrast is here. This used to be a beautiful stadium here, and now with this thing they built in center field here, it lost the beauty of this ballpark. When you used to come here to play, you even when you came in and got beaten by the great teams here, but this thing in center field here, this was built for football.
It's the USS Al Davis out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's taken all the beauty of this ballpark away, and I venture to say the fans realize that. You know, you come out here on a beautiful day, it was kind of like a garden type setting before.
A high pop into shallow right. Now the ball carries out there pretty well. Dye gallops over, makes the grab, and there's out number 2. Christensen is 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run.
What they do like here, the hitters like the backdrop. You know, you got a great big, what they call batter's eyes, very dark green. It's where there are no stands or anything in center field. There you can see it, the whole area. And in this area here is a backdrop for the hitters, and it just is a great ability for the hitters to pick pitches up from pitchers. The hitters feel like the pitcher looks like they're a little bit farther away.
Velarde, the batter. Well, I guess this is kind of akin to the home field advantage enjoyed by the Houston Astros when they play in the Dome. Of course, this is an outdoor stadium, the Dome indoors. But when you're a visiting team and you're not used to the depth perception and that big edifice out in center field, it can be an intimidating presence for you to adjust to. And not many teams have adjusted well here. The A's with the best home record in the American League at 47-25. But it's been a rough week for them, too. They've lost a couple of games. They're 4.5 games behind the Red Sox. Their plan for new ownership was also tabled by baseball. And they found out officially that on their off day coming up, they're going to have to fly all the way back to Baltimore and play a doubleheader, and then fly all the way back to Texas and start a 3-game series this coming Friday. And it's tough enough to win in Baltimore. Very tough to win a doubleheader, but even more difficult to cross-country travel. Velarde sends another rocket deep to left. It's another 2-run Oakland homer. Boy, these guys can hit, Jeff, and they've hit 1, 2, 3, 4 more runs. Make it 5 more runs here in the 3rd inning. And it's an 8-0 game.
Excuse me, Chip. Randy Velarde has been a major acquisition here. If you listen to any one of the players on this ball club, they will talk about what Velarde has done for this club. We talked about what Velarde can do. He can hit the ball the other way, but he can also turn on the ball. See what this is on the inner half of the plate. Look at him get the head of the bat out. What a beautiful swing. But Velarde is a guy that has really turned this ball club on. To a man, they'll tell you, boy, what a difference he's made for us.
So 2 homers in the inning for Oakland. Both of them 2-run shots, one by Tejada, one by Velarde. And Oakland has scored 5 here in the 3rd. They lead 8-0 at home. Here's Giambi. And Murray misses outside to even the count at a ball and a strike. It's been that kind of year for Tony Muser's team. They're 30 games under 500. A little bloop over 3rd. That's going to drop. They're hitting him out of the ballpark. They're hitting him in front of everybody. Every bounce going Oakland's way.
Well, I know Jason Giambi is not going to smile too much. You never want to do that because it kind of shows the pitcher up. But he's happy. He'll take it. You take a full swing. He's already gotten 1 bloop into right center. He takes this swing here, and the ball goes the other way. But this is a credit to his strength. Most people would have broken the bat and wouldn't have gone anywhere. Watch this. See how it's on the hands? He takes a full swing, and it's a little blooper to left field, but he'll take it.
10 hits already for Oakland. And John Jaha, the 9th man to bat. That's popped up right side. A lot of foul ground here in Oakland. And it's on a play for a strike. Oh, and they boo that fan. Bad fielding crowd on the right side here. And the umpire helps out that young lady with those nifty looking sunglasses. Comes away with a souvenir today.
You know, people laugh about getting a ball in a major league game. Those are things you never forget. You get a ball like that, that's on the trophy case or on the mantle at home in the trophy case, and it's neat. I got this at a major league game.
Swing and a miss by Jaha. It's 0-2.
Did you notice how dark that ball looked? You know, the balls are rubbed up before the game, and you think of about a new dozen brand of baseballs with a very white cover. Well, they rub them up with mud, and then they look chocolate brown by the time they're put into a game.
Delaware River mud, I think, is where that substance comes from. I remember as a bat boy, as a kid in Atlanta.
Do you have to rub them up?
Doug Harvey was one of the umpires for the crew. Come on in, help us rub up the baseball. So we rubbed up about 5 dozen.
You know, that's not easy. If you do it in a lazy way, just put a lot of muddy water on them and rub it on and then dry them off with a towel, it's not the same. What it's there for is to take the gloss out off the ball as they were appealing a possible check swing. But what you're doing is trying to take the shine and the slipperiness off the ball. But if you are very sneaky and you pour some of that mud and put it in a can and you take all that and rub it on your hand, it makes the ball look like a chocolate ball. You're supposed to put a little bit on to take the gloss off.
2 balls, 2 strikes. The pitch is chopped foul past third, and Jaha stays alive at 2-2. Yeah, those were some fun times as a bat boy. Back in the days down in Atlanta with Bob Horner and Dale Murphy, Claudio Washington were patrolling old Fulton County Stadium. And there weren't many umpires better than Doug Harvey in his days in the National League. 2-2. Low, 3 balls, 2 strikes. It's 8-0 Oakland.
How many years were you a bat boy?
Oh, just 2 weeks.
Oh,
just 2 weeks.
What were you, 25 or 26?
Last year, pal. Payoff pitch. The runner goes, and it's over the outside corner for a strike. Jaha can't believe it. But Oakland bats around in the third. They score 5 times, including a pair of home runs, 1 by Tejada, 1 by Velarde, and the rout is on. It's 8-0 Oakland. 8-0 Oakland as we head to the 4th inning. Beltran will lead things off. Kansas City just 1 hit today. That a single in the second by Mike Sweeney. Carlos Beltran. If he doesn't win the Rookie of the Year, there is no justice in the American League. He has had a fantastic campaign. Ground out for the second time. He's 0 for 2. But 101 RBIs, 21 homers, and a .290 batting average. Trying to become the first Royals Rookie of the Year since the Bambino, Bob Hamlin, won that honor back in 1994.
Well, he's a good-looking young player. He's one of those kids that comes up and you say, here's a 5-tool player. People get tired of hearing that 5-tool player. That's a scout's terminology. As you see Jermaine Dye hit this ball deep to short. Watch this throw.
Tejada got him at first.
Wow. What a throw this is. He was playing over in the hole to begin with, but when he got over and planted his feet, you just saw a rifle throw. I heard he had good range and a good arm, but look where he is. He's playing short left field.
Boy, it looked like the key to that play, Jeff. He was able to set his feet and plant that back foot and got a lot on that throw. Dye, a big man, runs pretty well, but not well enough. Clearly, you heard him be retired.
Well, that's good defensive positioning, too. They played him over in the hole. That enabled him, I'm speaking of Tejada, to get over and get that ball and plant his feet. But we heard he had good range and a good arm. But, my gosh, that was a rocket.
So Oliveira's really settling into the rocking chair here. He's retired 8 consecutive Royals. And here is Sweeney. He has the lone base hit. Kansas City just endured a long 3rd inning. And the first 2 men were retired very, very quickly. So let's see if Sweeney can work the count and give Murray a bit of a break before he comes back out for the bottom of the 4th inning. A line drive into left center field. Sweeney is 2 out of 2. Boy, he's a good hitter. A real good hitter is Sweeney, who is now 5 out of 6 in this series. He had 3 hits in the Royals win last night.
Well, in the veteran Oliveira, you've got a pitcher. We talked about it before. He throws sinkers. He tries to get the hitters to hit the ball, and he throws sliders to get you out. Occasional changeup. But in this situation, with the kind of lead that he has, he's not messing around. He's throwing strikes. He's trying to get the outs in a hurry. When you've got an 8-0 lead, you don't want to walk anybody.
A chopper off the foot of Aranda. That doesn't feel good.
How about some of the numbers when you look at Olivares in day games? His earned run average is 166 in day games. Night games, 501. Normally it's the other way around because people say, well, I can see the ball better in the daytime, so you have the higher ERAs in the daytime. He must enjoy pitching during the daytime. I don't know whether he's sharper or what.
Get him to Wrigley Field as soon as you can, where they play all those day games. But he's been a terrific acquisition by Oakland. They were very busy around the trading deadline. They got Randy Velarde and Omar Olivares. Kevin Apier came over from Kansas City. Jason Isringhausen, Greg McMichael came from the Mets. They, of course, sent Kenny Rogers to New York. And what amazed me most about all those deals was not only, Jeff, did Oakland solidify their team now and improve the ball club, they lowered their payroll and they got some great prospects in return as well. I mean, Oakland did as good a job as you can, and they cut $100,000 off the payroll. That's remarkable.
That's magic. I don't know how they do that.
Well, they do it because Billy Beane is one of the best young minds in the game.
Well, he's one of those guys. I saw a quote saying that when he was a player with the Mets, he saw Frank Cashin walk on the field who was the general manager. He said, that's who we want to be like. Most players don't look up to the general manager so much. They look up to somebody in uniform or another star. He was looking at the general manager's position right from the beginning. When he was a young player, he had that kind of respect for that position.
Well, he's done an amazing job here with very limited resources. The A's have gotten maybe the most bang for their buck of any team in the major leagues. A payroll a shade over $20 million. And here they are, winners of 80 of 146 games. 4.5 games out of the playoffs, which has shocked, surprised, and amazed everybody in baseball.
And they're a loose bunch.
And they're going to get better, too, which is the scary thing.
Well, they're going to have to pay, too. When you get big boppers hitting like the guys have done in the middle of this order, they're going to be expected to be paid also.
A hot shot toward third. And that retires the side as Saenz throws to Velarde at second. Royals fail to score in the fourth. It's 8-0 A's. Here comes Oakland in the bottom of the fourth inning. Chip Caray, Jeff Torborg, our entire Fox crew from Oakland, California, where it's another gorgeous day for baseball. Dan Murray's first pitch is skied into straightaway center. Beltran battles the high sky. One pitch, one man out. Jeff, we'll look at our Budweiser game break. Let's send it back to Keith Olbermann in our Fox Network Center.
All right, Chip, good afternoon. Earlier, Derek Jeter had tied Nomar Garciaparra with his 23rd homer of the year, and then Nomar said, so much for that. 3 for 3 already, 2-run homers. Now 6-0 Red Sox in the fifth. Sox lead the A's by 4.5 in the wild card. Would be within 3 of the Yankees in the East if they win that game. Chip?
Okay, Keith, thanks a lot. That is an amazing story, too. That Red Sox ball club not only leading in the wild card race, but giving the Yankees everything they can handle in that American League's Eastern Division, including a sweep in the Bronx earlier in the week.
Well, they fooled me. Jimmy Williams has done an unbelievable job with that club. They look like they were really history even in the wild card about a month and a half ago because Toronto went ahead of them. But then that ball club, they've got a special player in the middle of that field. And Pedro Martinez is as good as there is in this game. But Garciaparra has been unbelievable for them.
Saenz swings and misses. Count 1-2 with one man out. And here are the standings in the wild card. A's 4.5 back. Toronto really scuffling. They're 8.5 back. Blue Jays might have run out of time. The 1-2. Breaking ball chopped up the middle. Sanchez in, up across. 2-man down. One other thing about that Boston ball club, you have to give Dan Duquette an awful lot of credit. He took an enormous amount of heat in not re-signing Mo Vaughn, signing Offerman instead. And here they are. And they were very active at the trade deadline, too. They got a guy I know very well, Rod Beck from the Chicago Cubs, a man that everybody knows maybe a little short on stuff, but he has amazing guts. He is not afraid to take the ball in any situation, and he has really solidified that bullpen. for a Boston team that lost Tom Gordon, that lost Martinez for a start or so, that has battled with Brett Saberhagen's injury problems. Tim Wakefield moved out of the rotation into the closer's role for a while. I mean, Jimmy Williams and Dan Duquette have done a wonderful job with that Boston team. Pop straight back and off to our left, into and out of the Oakland radio booth, where the legendary voice of the Oakland A's, Bill King, is hanging out once again. There he is, one of the best ever, folks. The 2-1. 3 balls and a strike to the catcher, Ramon Hernandez.
Well, a lot of guys have stepped it up over there with the Red Sox, too. People like Brian Dahlback. What a tremendous year he's had. Butch Husky was acquired. And that's a winning ball club.
First walk by Murray, and here are the thoughts of the A's skipper, Art Howe, about those surging Boston Red Sox.
You have to give Boston a lot of credit. They keep putting up W's, and they had a tough road trip to go through, but they did a great job. And they were still a long way from the finish line. And anything can happen, and we're playing good baseball too. And people tend to forget we won 4 and lost 1 on this last road trip, and got rained out of 2 because of the hurricane. But we're playing well. If we continue to take care of business, we're going to keep the pressure on.
Well, they're going to have to, Jeff. Boston's beating the Tigers 6-0. That game's in the 5th. Keith Olbermann kind enough to share some of those highlights a moment ago. Oakland's leading here 8-0. Art Howe can't worry about Boston. They just got to go out and win and hope that Boston stumbles along the way. It's not impossible, but being 4.5 back with about 2.5 weeks to go does not help the Oakland cause, nor does the fact that, again, they have to fly all the way from Oakland on an off day, play in Baltimore a doubleheader, and then fly down to Texas with the division-leading Rangers waiting for a 3-game series.
Yeah, everything seems to be against them now when you look at it, the schedule.
A roller hit to Sanchez. He'll flip to second in time. Good play. Fabulous keeps the bag, and that retires the A's in the 4th. We go to the 5th. KC looks for their first run. It's only their 3rd hit of the game, and Olivares has been scored upon finally by the Royals. It's 8-1 Oakland.
We talked about Mark Quinn coming into the big league opener at his debut and hitting 2 home runs. He takes the ball in the outer part of the plate and drives it out the other way. This shows some strength. This ball was not a bad pitch. Outer half and down. Look how far it went. Now, the ball does carry better here in the daytime, but that took a jolt to hit that ball a long way that way.
He's a pride of Rice University. Was a teammate of Jose Cruz Jr. with the Owls. And a very strong man, 6'1", 175 pounds, hit it the opposite way over the monster, the mini monster, I guess you could call it here in Oakland, about 375, 380 feet away. So Kansas City finally on the board. It's 8-1, and Jeremy Giambi, the designated hitter, bats for the 2nd time today. And he's quickly down 0-2. 3 home runs for Mark Quinn.
After that first start, I was reading that he couldn't sleep all night. Obviously, you hit 2 home runs in your first major league appearance. He was so wound up. He said it was about 4:30 in the morning. He's still wide awake saying, I can't believe what just happened.
What a great story. Isn't that great to see the youngsters have those dreams come true like that?
You're not kidding. I'll tell you what, a long time ago for me, but I don't think anybody who's dreamed for a long time wanting to be a major league ball player getting there, what a thrill that is.
Ground ball hit to Tejada at short. Funny hop, but he's got a cannon. 1 down here in the 5th inning. Against whom did you record your first major league home run?
Oh boy, there were so many of them that
I know you don't have to take off your shoes to count.
Well, I don't know. My first major league hit was against Carlton Willie, though. I know that was a crashing single to left field.
Who?
That chased it. Carl Willie.
Oh, Carl Willie. Okay.
Yeah, so it was on my first anniversary in Shea Stadium in front of my mom and dad. How about that? Those are things you don't realize what managers do for players. Walter Olson got me into that game knowing I was at home. Later on, I was managing. I tried to do the same thing for people like Steve Lyons. And
And look at where it got you. No balls and a strike with one man out. I thought you were going to say your first hit came against Cy Young or Grover Cleveland Alexander.
Very funny. Very funny.
But I didn't. I mean, you jumped in before I had a chance.
You know, it's funny. I can't remember. I had to stop and think who I got my first major league home run against. And I only had 8 of them.
Well, I knew you didn't have to take off the shoes and socks.
No, I didn't want to embarrass anybody. I was a no-hit catcher in more ways than one, believe me.
3 of those you caught, though, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And there is Mark Quinn. A solo home run here in the 5th inning. You know, both of these ball clubs, very young, have ownership questions, trying to rebuild very proud franchises. Obviously, you look at the records this year, Oakland is much farther ahead than that Kansas City team is. But the Royals are really building the way you like to see it done. Very strong at second, center field. They can keep Sanchez. That'll help. Sweeney and Randa have had fine years. Jermaine Dye, a breakthrough year. If Tony Muser can get any kind of pitching at all with any kind of consistency and get a guy that they can give the ball to in the 8th or 9th inning and close it out, you might be seeing one of the most improved teams in the year 2000 in this Kansas City ball club. They're not that far away, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I was part of something like this with the White Sox in 1990. Remember, that's when we had the youngest team in baseball. We won 94 games, and it was when you have a young team, there's an excitement about the team. You have to have some veteran leadership. We had Carlton Fisk and Ozzie Guillen. But because of the youth, you never know what you're going to get. We had, I believe, 8 guys had over 50 RBIs. We didn't have anybody with 20 home runs. We didn't have a 15-game winner, and yet we won 94 games. It can be done. And we didn't even have, when you think about it, you think, well, if a club is so young and they don't have the big power hitters, you better have a lot of pitching. We didn't even have that. We had a good bullpen. Bobby Thigpen saved 57 games, and Barry Jones, I believe, won 12 games as a setup man. But it can be done. And it's fun doing it that way with young players.
3 balls, 2 strikes, and Kruger goes down. And there's out number 2. Time for another Budweiser game break. Let's rejoin Keith Olbermann in Los Angeles.
All right, Chip, as you know, for Randy Johnson just to tie Nolan Ryan's record, he'd have to get 3 16 strikeout games before the end of the season. That would be 7 so far. 4-0 Diamondbacks. He is pitching in the top of the 6th inning against Florida, so not quite yet there. Chip?
Keith, thank you very much. You caught Nolan Ryan. How amazing is that record? 383 strikeouts in a single season. Weak ground ball hit to the left side. Good play by Science. Can he throw him out? He can. Ponder that question. We'll answer it when we return. A solo homer by Quinn gives KC their first and only run. Mobile game summary. The Athletics are winning by a score of 8-1. 5 runs in the 3rd, Jeff. That's an awful lot for any team to overcome. And Oakland trying to snap this modest 2-game losing streak and keep the pressure on the front-running Red Sox in the wild card chase. Jason McDonald fouls the first pitch of the bottom of the 5th inning away, and he's behind in the count 0-1.
Well, we were talking before about the Red Sox and the Athletics, what they're trying to do in competition, and of course Art Howe thought, well, the Red Sox are going into a vicious road trip, which they went to the West Coast and then back east, and they had to face the Yankees and the Indians, and they came out of it 9-3. Well, the Athletics were doing a good job too. Oakland went on the road. They ended up 4-1, and they missed 2 games because of the hurricane, where they had nice matchups they thought in their favor from the pitching standpoint as McDonald gets hit with that pitch.
That one grazes the uniform shirt, and Dan Murray hits a batter. That's the 2nd Athletic to be hit by a pitch today. McDonald and Giambi have been plunked this afternoon.
As you watch this pitch, you can see it just keeps chasing him in. What happens sometimes with right-handed pitchers, they get down alongside the ball and they're trying to run it in, but they cut the ball a little bit and it keeps chasing the hitter, and then it ends up hitting him. And I think that's what happened there.
So McDonald has a nice lead over at first. Activity begins again in the Kansas City bullpen. And the top of the order, Ryan Christensen checks a swing and fouls it away. No balls and a strike to the Oakland leadoff man. Christensen singled and scored in the 1st. Tallied his 24th RBI and a fielder's choice in the 2nd. And fly to right in the third. Very small crowd again on hand here in Oakland. Despite a magnificent season by this young A's ball club, they have drawn very, very poorly here. And that has to be a big, big concern. Last night, the A's on a Friday night, beautiful night for baseball. As you see Rigby warming up in the Royals pen, drew just 9,400 fans. And everywhere you read in the Oakland paper, there is this community, I guess the word is outrage, that baseball's ownership tabled the prospective change of ownership plans by this Oakland franchise. But if there's the outrage, where is everybody? You're averaging 18,000 fans a game and you're in a pennant race. You can't really have it both ways. It just seems that, Jeff, this Oakland team has not been very well supported this season. And I know fans are going to say, well, when they had Canseco and McGuire and Ricky Henderson, people came to this place and watched them play. Well, that's true, but the economics have changed in the 9-10 years since that happened. And right now, they're not drawing very well at all. Swing and a miss.
No, they're not drawing well, and it would be different if this were not an exciting team. This is an exciting team. The way they hit home runs, the way they play with an aggressiveness, with an kind of an infectiousness. I mean, you can see these guys enjoy playing together. And normally the fans feed off that, but they got to be here to feed off that. And if for some reason it just has not happened. I know in the past here, they've hit huge peaks and valleys. If you remember, they had the real good teams for Charlie Finley. Then they hit a stretch where they didn't even turn the scoreboards on. There was nobody here. Finley didn't pay much of anyone in the front office.
Velarde takes outside with 1-on-1 out.
Then Billy Martin came in, and that would have been 1980, and this club started to show some energy, and the fans started to come out. And then later on, Tony La Russa's reign here, where they had the real good teams with all the rookies of the year, you know, Canseco, McGuire, Walt Weiss, and all those good players. The fans did come out, but it has not been that way lately.
One ball, one strike to Velarde. The tabling of the proposal presented to baseball's ownership means that a group headed by Michael Dolich here in the Bay Area, they've got first dibs on the attempt to buy the team. That has to be done, of course, with Major League Baseball approval. That approval is what has been tabled. Their exclusive run on the deal expires at the end of business on Monday. This coming Monday. So unless the current owners of the A's grant an extension, which it doesn't seem that they are going to be willing to do, and why should they, then Mr. Schott and Hoffman then have a very interesting decision to make. If they hang on to the ball club and keep it here, they're only obligated to keep it in the stadium until the year 2001. If, however, the Dolich group does not get the team, they can sell it to whomever they wish, and that group could then move that team or keep it here if they so desire. Runner goes, hit and run, perfectly executed, a gapper into right center field. That will send McDonald to third. First and third with one man out. And what's really the biggest shame of all, Jeff, is that with the kind of year this A's team is having, that this has to be a distraction for them in the final month, because that's something no one wants to see. Everyone wants to see this baseball franchise flourish here because they have had some great glory days. But having a Major League Baseball franchise for any city is a privilege and not a right, and you hope the fans will realize that in time to help keep it here if that's what everybody wants to have happen.
Very well put. As you can see, Raleigh Fingers, you're talking about a Hall of Famer, and of course today their catfish hunter is honored here, and they were honored last night, of course, with a moment of silence, and the flags are at half-staff for Cat. Tremendous pitcher here, pitched a perfect game here. Those were in the glory days of Charlie Finley's teams. But you're right, you do earn, there are the flags, you do earn owning and having a franchise in an area.
Bouncing ball up the middle. Fameless flips to Sanchez. One on to first. Two for the inning-ending double play. That ball skipped off the mound, and that helped Kansas City turn the inning-ending double play in the fifth. Number 60, and boy, you can see from his reaction as he rounded first, Jeff, the weight of the world finally lifted off of his shoulders as he had endured a 7-game homerless streak for the Cubs and was really pressing at the plate for the Chicago team. However, in the last 3 games, he'd come up with some big RBI opportunities and situations for the Cubs. But what a moment for Sammy Sosa. I know one of your favorite players from your managing days, and everybody in baseball has to be just astounded and amazed that he has hit 60 home runs in 2 years in a row.
Well, it's hard to imagine. I mean, you start to take things like that for granted because, yes, it's on the board.
A chopper hit by Ray Sanchez is knocked down by Tejada at short, and that'll be an infield hit for Kansas City. Leading off their half of the 6th inning.
I was waiting to see if Tejada did it again. I didn't think he was going to be able to plant and throw Sanchez out, but he couldn't hold his feet. But we heard about the range. We talked about it before. He goes to his left and his right with great athletic ability, and then when he gets to the ball, he's got a great arm.
So 1 on, nobody out. Here's Beltran. He's 0 for 2. He has yet to get the ball out of the infield. One of 3 Royals in their franchise history with 100 or more runs and RBIs in the same year. George Brett's done it, Darrell Porter's done it, and Carlos Beltran has done it this year for Kansas City.
And they didn't do it as a rookie. That is incredible. What a first year. You know, you'd say, okay, if that had been artificial turf there in Kansas City as it once was, you say, well, maybe he had an advantage. Not so anymore.
Look at him hang in there, hoping that ball would clip him on the kneecap. He knows the Royals need base runners.
Now, Chip, add to that the problem. Here's a youngster who's a switch hitter. It's tough enough, though, on one side of the plate, getting to feel at major league level. Now, how about 2 sides? And to do all those things. That's tough.
Good off-speed pitch by Olivares. Well, he's fortunate in one respect. He's going to play every day, whether he slumps or not, because Kansas City needs young players like him to develop. But for Kansas City's sake, they haven't slumped, and he hasn't slumped, I should say. Boy, just a magnificent year. And a very, very bright future as he becomes one of the cornerstones for this Kansas City franchise, along with Fabulous at second base, Randa, Sweeney, and Jermaine Dye. Pieces are in place. They're starting to become a cohesive unit. Now can they find the pitching? That's what everybody else is looking for. That ball rockets it into right field. Can anybody cut it off? Stairs can. It rolls to the wall. Sanchez will stop at third. It's a stand-up double for Beltran, and that ball was hit like a bullet. A 4-game hitting streak for him. His 20, make that his first double of the day, his first hit of the day. And Kansas City has him second and third, nobody out in an 8-1 game.
Tony Muser told me yesterday one of the things about his young outfielder is you'd see his swing. Look at that. It's a beautiful swing. Look at that balance shifting to that front leg right down, head right down the bat, and he hits a bullet up the alley. Tony Muser said he's never protected this kid, meaning he's never, against a tough pitcher, pinch hit for him. He has never taken him out of the lineup against a tough pitcher. He has played him against all comers, and this kid has really been up to the challenge.
Jermaine Dye walked and was robbed by Tejada in his last at bat. An RBI chance for him in the 6th inning. Oakland has a big 7-run lead in the 6th. The Royals need to capitalize here. And Olivares misses high to even the count. One strike to Jermaine Dye, who's 3 out of 6 in the series. Swung on, rocketed toward right center field. That might be trouble. Christensen on the run. Can't get it. That's high off the wall. Sanchez scores. Beltran, he will stop at third. It's another double. 3 straight Kansas City hits. And it's now an 8-2 game. Dye drives home number 110 on the year.
I've talked about Dye. He's gotten his act back together again, and he got a cookie right in the middle of the plate. There was nothing on this ball. It was straight and right in the middle of the plate. Remember, Olivares is a sinker baller. That ball didn't do anything, and Dye didn't try to do too much with it. He just drove it to right center off the fence. Nice play by Christensen coming off of bare-handing the ball. But Dye has had a sensational year. Rick Peterson is going out. The pitching coach for Oakland is going out to talk to Olivares. He's going to give his bullpen a little time. He's got a left-hander and a right-hander up. Rick Peterson has really done a nice job here. Rick is the son of Hardy Peterson, who is the general manager of the Pirates back in the 70s. And Rick is a real student of pitching, but also sports psychology. He's the modern age teacher who thinks on the sports psychological side of things, and he has done a terrific job here.
Buddy Groom, Doug Jones up in the Oakland bullpen as the Royals have tallied 3 straight 6th inning hits. Jermaine Dye's 110th RBI makes it an 8-2 game. The all-time Royal record for ribbies is 133 by Hal McRae back in 1982. Dean Palmer led this Kansas City team with 119 last year. Dye has an outside shot at topping that mark. Has a good breaking ball. Freezes Sweeney. He's 2 out of 2 today. By the way, that 119 total by Palmer, the second most in the history of the Royals franchise. So Dye indeed having a very, very special year.
You know, you were talking about how young this team is. We were talking about Beltran being 22. Fabulous only 22. A guy we haven't even talked about is Johnny Damon, who's 25 only, who's hurt right now, who's having a terrific year, who can fly. This Sweeney's only 25. You're talking, and Jermaine Dye only 25. You're talking about a very young team.
Well, the strength of this Royal team, quite obviously, is their everyday lineup. When Damon is healthy, and he's got a rib cage problem, that's why he's not been playing. But they have a very good everyday lineup. It's just a matter of being able to see Johnny Damon keep the other guys from scoring with some consistency. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 in, nobody out. A hot shot to the shortstop, Tejada. They'll concede the run. That scores Beltran. It's an 8-3 game. Sweeney drives home his 98th run of the year.
Well, in Sweeney, as we talked about, who had been a catcher, as you look at the age, you look at the offensive potential, he's got the kind of offense that you can put at first base, and they have done that, and they're trying to teach him the position. It's going to take him a little while to really get the footwork down over at first. That is a difficult position. A lot of people don't realize how tough first base is, and boy, when you don't have somebody really sure over there, it affects your whole infield defense.
Joe Randa looks for his first base hit. They call him the Joker. Why? Well, he stands in the batter's box. It's the way his smile. See, like that looks like Jack Nicholson in the Batman Joker, doesn't he? His numbers are no joke, though. A ground ball toward third. Science high throw, and the tag applied by Giambi. A terrific play at first. He saved his third baseman a throwing error there, and there's out number 2.
Well, we just got finished talking about how important good defense at first base is. Here's Sains' throw over, and he gets under the ball just a little bit, and it tails, and look at the nice play Giambi makes. That is the kind of play that first baseman can get so hurt on. If the throw is off up the line into the runner, and the runner and the ball get there at the same time, first basemen have over the years really gotten hurt badly, and that was a nice play by Giambi.
So runner at second, 2 outs now for Quinn, who homered his last time up. A little broken bat blue, caught at second by Velarde, and that retires the side. That was ticketed for right center. It would have scored a run, but Kansas City settles for 2 on 3 hits. They still trail by 5. 3 as we head to the bottom half of inning number 6 here in Oakland. John Jaha, Matt Stairs, and Olmedo Sainz will be the hitters, and there's Brad Rigby, the new pitcher for Kansas City. He'll replace Mr. Murray.
Boy, I walked by this Rigby in the clubhouse. I went, holy mackerel, he's 6'6", and he weighs about 200. They have him listed at 215. If he's 215, he's 230 easily. Out of Georgia Tech University. Had a great career there, but a great big kid who throws hard. Anybody you see that big with that kind of leverage, if they can get the ball with a little action and not be straight in the zone, they got a chance.
That one fouled off. And Jaha faces a count of 1-1. Jaha drove in the first 2 runs of the game with a base hit in the first inning. He has since struck out looking twice.
Of course, Rigby coming back facing his old club in 1997. He was 1-7 for Oakland. He was part of that deal when Oakland was able to acquire Kevin Apier on July 31st of this year. Royals also got pitcher Blake Stein and pitcher Jeff D'Amico in that deal.
Well, Kansas City needs pitching. So a 3-for-1 deal for Kevin Apier. 1-2. And that one sinks. And the count evens. There's Apier. And you see that number 27 on the A's uniform top. That's, of course, in loving memory of the great catfish hunter who passed away at his home in North Carolina after a battle with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. What a competitor that man was.
Besides being a great competitor, he was one of the nicest human beings I've ever been around. You talk about a down-to-earth guy. Here's a Hall of Famer. Big contract guy. Remember the first big real free agent? Declared a free agent because of a contract dispute here with Charlie Finley in Oakland. Ends up with the Yankees. I watched him do the shine the shoes in the clubhouse, in the Yankee clubhouse, helping the clubhouse guy. That's the kind of guy Jim Hunter was.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And that's chopped toward Randa at third. He's got a good arm. He shows it off. And Jaha is out number 1. Well, Charlie Finley in his days as the owner of this Oakland ball club would do just about anything to generate publicity. Gave a lot of his players nicknames, and Jim Hunter didn't really like the nickname Catfish, but because he was from North Carolina, had that southern drawl, Finley thought it sounded very southern and effective, so he called him Catfish.
He asked him one time, he said, Jim, what do you like to do in your spare time? And Catfish says, I like to hunt and fish. So what kind of fish? He said, catfish. There it was.
That's it.
You remember it was Charlie Finley that gave John Odom Blue Moon, the nickname Blue Moon. And he had Vita Blue. I think he tried to change Vita Blue's name. He said, no, no. That's my name. That's what's going to stay.
1-0 to Stairs. A rocket shot up the middle, but right to Ray Sanchez. 2 up, 2 down here in inning number 6. And Science, the third baseman, will be the batter. He is 1 for 3 with an RBI today. Oakland by 5, 8-3 in inning number 6. Of course, all the flags here at the ballpark in Oakland at half-staff in memory of Catfish Hunter.
Catfish was, we were talking about Olivares being a good hitter when he was in the National League. Jim Hunter was a very good athlete. He was one of the best hitters of the pitchers in those days in the major leagues. Good fielder.
As we were talking about Omar Olivares earlier, he's a good athlete too. And he's got the big lead this afternoon as he tries to win his 7th game for the A's, his 15th of the year. Boston clobbering Detroit at 6-0 in the 7th inning. It appears all Oakland can do is keep pace this afternoon. They're 4.5 games out in the wild card. That ball cranked toward left. Quinn grips back on the warning track, reaches up, makes the play, and the A's are retired for the first time. 1-2-3 in this ball game. 8-3 after 6. Back after this from your local Fox station. The 7th inning, 8-3 in favor of the Athletics. And Jeremy Giambi will lead it off for Kansas City. He is 0 for 2 in today's ball game. That misses inside to even the count. 1-1. Big stories in baseball today. Sammy Sosa has hit number 60 for the Chicago Cubs. A new major league record. First man to hit 60 in consecutive seasons. Sosa now 126 home runs in his last 2 years. And a big matchup with the Cardinals. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Chicago. Then the final weekend of the year in St. Louis. And those tickets are awfully tough to get, as you can imagine.
Well, you know, you mentioned something about that 60th, it looked like he relaxed. You remember a year ago, it was Mark McGuire when he got his 50th at Shea Stadium, kind of took the weight of the world off him, and then he loosened up, and here he came. That'll be interesting. Those matchups coming back, and those two guys head-to-head, that'll be fun.
Well, last year, Sosa hit 12 of his 66 homers against the Milwaukee Brewers. You have to give credit where credit is due, as the 2-2 pitch misses inside. The Cubs were playing the Astros and the Reds over an 11-game stretch. Both of those teams in a life-or-death pennant race in the Central. They're not going to let Sammy Sosa beat them. And that's exactly what happened. That's one reason why he did not go deep. A high drive hammered toward right. Matt Stairs broke in. Now goes back. He's just shy of the wall. And he makes the grab for out number 1 here in inning number 7. Fox NFL Sunday comes your way tomorrow, and on the pregame show after last week's remarkable comeback, Brett Favre broke down after the game. Find out what brought one of the NFL's greatest quarterbacks to tears in Terry Bradshaw's intimate and revealing interview with Brett Favre, followed by exciting NFL action beginning tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, only on Fox. So here's Brown pinch hitting. First pitch swinging, ground ball to the right side. That's easy for Velarde. And very quickly there are 2 men out. So Kruder out of the lineup. Brown pinch hits. And he is quickly taken care of. And to the top of the order we go now in Carlos Fablis. Dermal Brown, the pinch hitter. So scratch him off the extras list here in the 7th inning. And Fablis takes over. He is 0 for 3. A ground out to the shortstop, a ground out to third, and a strikeout looking that back in inning number 3. The Dos Carlos, they call him in Kansas City, with Fablis and Beltran. A high hopper toward third. Saenz will have to hurry, and he got him by a half step again. 3 up, 3 down. It's 7th inning stretch time in Oakland, where the A's are cruising along. Half of the 7th inning, Athletics leading before a small but enthusiastic crowd. And Lance Carter is the 4th Royals pitcher of the afternoon. He takes over for Mr. Rigby. Rigby went a scoreless and perfect inning. A 1-2-3 frame in the 6th inning, the first and only 1-2-3 inning recorded by the Royals pitching staff in today's game. Ramon Hernandez is set to lead things off here in the 7th inning. Tim Spear, by the way, is the new Kansas City catcher. So sub Spear for Kruder here in the 7th. Chip Caray, Jeff Torborg from Oakland. And a quick strike from Lance Carter.
Chip Lance Carter's a young kid. He's only 24 years of age. Selected in the 21st round by Kansas City in 1994 out of Bradenton, Florida. And this time of year is a chance for a major league club, especially a club that's not in the pennant race, to get a chance to look at some of their young talent.
Well, if he can be effective in the final few weeks, certainly you'd expect him to maybe get an invitation to spring training with the big league club next year. And after that, you never know. Or Kansas City certainly could use some pitching help.
Well, they're bringing him along slowly because he had elbow surgery after the 96 season, missed the whole 97 season, but at this age, still young.
Little pop short right. Dye hesitates, but then makes the play. And Hernandez is out number 1 in inning number 7. Carter making the jump from Double-A Wichita. So let's head out to Wrigley Field in Chicago. Sammy Sosa will be coming up shortly as he goes for 61 against Rafael Roque of the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to take you to Wrigley Field, where they are going nuts at the friendly confines, and why not? Major League history today at Wrigley Field. Sammy Sosa with 60 home runs and a base hit here in Oakland by Tejada. And that's the replay of number 60 for Sosa. Amazingly, Sosa with 60 home runs, the Chicago Cubs with 59 wins. And Chicago trailing 3-2 in the 7th inning today. That would be even more remarkable if somehow Sammy Sosa ended up with more home runs than the Chicago team had wins. A most dubious statistic that has never been done before as well in the history of Major League Baseball. Sammy's entire family at the game. And as you can see, a huge crowd for the Chicago Cubs, who've had a most disappointing season this year, Jeff, but still they might draw 2.8 million fans to that beautiful ballpark on Chicago's north side.
Well, that's a real credit to the Chicago fans on the north side of town. They're struggling for fans on the south side of town. The north side of town has been behind their team.
Jason McDonald's the hitter here in Oakland in the bottom half of the 7th inning, and he's ahead in the count 2-0. It's hard to believe, Jeff, that Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire have again, one of them hitting 60, one of them approaching 60, and there's still such a great gap between those two guys and everybody else in the game as far as the home run totals are concerned.
I know it. You know what's happened over the last 2 years? I think we've kind of become numb to it. You know, last year with that pennant race, and those numbers don't really register anymore.
A little bouncing ball up the middle. Sanchez will have to hurry. The throw to first is in time here in Oakland. McDonald is retired. Tejada to second. And as you see, Sosa striding into the batter's box at Wrigley Field. Those pictures you see courtesy of WGN. And we appreciate those fine folks for letting us peek in on maybe another slice of history in Chicago. 2 outs here in the Oakland 7th. And Ryan Christensen, the batter. He has singled, he has scored, he's driven in a run. And Sosa, you see, takes a strike. Can't see who that pitcher is. Rafael Roque is not the hurler. Roque is a left-hander and obviously a right-hand pitcher working for Milwaukee. It's Hector Ramirez who is now pitching for the Milwaukee team in Chicago. That backs up Christensen. Historically, Sammy Sosa, a guy that hits his home runs in bunches. He hit 12 against Milwaukee last year. And I said to Commissioner Bud Selig as he was watching, on behalf of Sammy Sosa, thank you, for we couldn't have done it without you guys. A high drive hit down the right field line. That's playable for Jermaine Dye. He is in foul ground, and that retires the side in the 7th. Sammy Sosa, a little chin music in Chicago. We'll keep it right here and see what Sosa can do. In Oakland, Chip Caray, Jeff Torborg. The 2, 3, 4 spots due now for Kansas City, and if they're going to do it, Jeff, now would be the time. For Oakland's bullpen has been real good this year.
Well, Omar Olivares has really been in control of this game. He's given up some runs, but you know that he knows how to pitch with a lead. And that sounds like, well, what a stupid thing to say, but veteran pitchers know enough not to pick and go around the corners when they have a big cushion.
0-2.
In fact, we were talking about Catfish Hunter. Jim Catfish Hunter gave you the easiest offer like Juan Marichal used to. He'd throw the ball in the middle of the plate. You'd have 3 balls. You'd hit the center field saying, boy, I hit that ball real well. In the meantime, you're 0 for 3. But that's how he pitched. He would just give you something to hit. And in the minute he got ahead, it was good night. And he would start painting the corners. But when you think about the kind of pitcher that all of them had exceptional 98-mile-an-hour fastballs.
The 0-2. Oh, he swung at that ball off his front foot and fouled it away. What drove you nuts more as a manager? Close game, well, let's say 2 or 3 runs. Your pitcher gives up a leadoff home run or the leadoff walk.
Leadoff walk. You know, it's strange. You'd say it sounds crazy, but sometimes the home run could be the rally killer. You know, you can be in the middle of a big inning. You get a guy on, you get 2 guys on, you hit a base hit, and 2 guys start running around the bases. You get all excited. Now you get a home run, and all of a sudden everything stops.
Sanchez swings and misses. At that pitch almost hit him in the C on his Kansas City uniform. He's out number 1 here in inning number 8. And Jeff, time to take a look at our A&W fan cam in Oakland. Not a whole lot of A's fans on hand, but they're stacked up in that row.
Would you say she has her hands full?
She has her hands full. Look at that youngster.
Is that great?
You know, we always see the grandfathers and the grandsons. Great to see the grandmas and the granddaughters at the game.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
That's great.
Some of the greatest fans I've ever been around, and second-guessed me more than any other fan were the grandmothers. Jeff, how could you leave that pitcher in that long? Couldn't everybody see that he was finished?
That's the great thing about that manager's job. Unless you're the manager, everybody thinks they know all the answers. And Beltran is the batter. 1 out, bases empty for Kansas City in the 8th inning. Beltran doubled and scored his last time up. Sounds of the game, Art Howe. How do you pitch to this budding superstar? Over the outside corner, a ball and a strike. How do you pitch to this guy? How would you approach this youngster? Looks like they're throwing it in on his hands. Let's see if that's what Art Howe has in mind.
Beltran, he's a fastball hitter. Okay, powerful. 2-2. Changeup. He's looked terrible on a changeup. 2 pitches before. He can't hit changeup. He's a fastball hitter. Beltran.
Oh, that's good. That's Art Howe talking to his young catcher, and he's telling him, hey, he's a fastball hitter. So what have we seen in this at-bat? The young catcher has called all sorts of off-speed stuff. A slow breaking ball, a cutter in, and a changeup. That last pitch he fouled off was a breaking ball. Now he's going away from him.
Off speed. That's fair over first. Giambi can't believe that. It's into the corner. Look at Beltran fly. He rounds second. He's on his way to third. The ball is not in time. A sliding triple. What a play.
Wow.
Look at Giambi. He can't believe it. He can't believe that ball was called fair by Jim Joyce.
And I also can't believe that somehow Beltran got in on that. That throw beat him. He made a great slide. We saw a great slide earlier in the game by Tejada at home plate. But, you know, you better be, when you're down in a ball game like this and you're running to third base, you better be sure you can make it. There's the throw. No, the umpire, Mike DeMuro, was right on that. He beats it.
Well, he looked surprised, too. He wasn't going full tilt out of the box. He thought that ball might have been fouled, but he saw Joyce signal fair immediately. And then he turned on the jets. And you can hear from those great microphones in the base, he slid in just ahead of the tag. So Kansas City in business here in the 8th inning as Beltran, just a tremendously exciting player, has doubled, he's tripled, and Jermaine Dye a chance to make it really interesting now.
Well, now do you think the young catcher is going to go back to Art Howe? Obviously, he won't to his manager and say, hey, wait a minute. You said he was a fastball hitter. He just hit an off-speed pitch inside third base.
We'll take another look and see if Jim Joyce got this one right. It's still tough to tell. The rule is over the bag, it's a fair ball. And it was very difficult to see where the ball was on that replay, but the umpire said it was fair. And Dye gets an RBI opportunity. He's driven in his 110th in today's game. Olivares, despite a pitch count that is mounting, still getting the ball up there around 90 miles an hour.
Strangely enough, that's not the way he normally pitches up at 90. He gets sinker balls in the 80s. He's trying. The book on Dye has always been pitching him hard up and in, even when he was a young kid. Now he's behind. Now he's going to have to throw a strike and get it down. And as we mentioned earlier, as a young hitter, Dye was a good off-speed hitter with the Braves.
There's one off-speed, pop to the right side. Giambi in foul ground, makes the catch, spins quickly. He knows Beltran has good speed, but he's not going to attempt to score on that pop-up. And there's out number 2. Dye can't come through in a big spot this time for KC, and now it's up to Sweeney.
Well, if you're a manager of a young team, you got to be patient with him. But Beltran's got to give you a heart attack. I mean, he is so good and he's so quick. But here he is with this ball game. His team is 5 runs down. He's jumping around like he's going to tag up on a pop-up to the first baseman. You got to say, whoa, 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 calm down there. You know, when you got Sammy Sosa, for an example, one time I gave a lecture to our club. I want you to be more aggressive. He got thrown out by 15 feet at home plate on one. There's a great play.
Wow, that was almost a wild pitch. Aaron Hernandez, a terrific play to his right.
this is a nice play because you know what you called, so you're going to react. But this ball went a lot farther than he figured. Look at this backhand. He just saved the run. That's like an RBI for him. It won't show up in the book, but his manager will know it.
A ball gets away from the Oakland bullpen. And so time is called as McDonald cleans things up a bit.
But with young players, you got to be careful. They take you literally. I said, you got to be more aggressive. I didn't mean that you get thrown out by 15 feet at home plate. So I said to Sammy, listen, I mean aggressive but smart. And he looked at me, okay, skipper. You know, but he was trying to be aggressive. And young players, boy, they know they can play. But, you know, you get to this level and everybody can play a little bit better. Not as easy.
Way outside, it's 3-0. Sweeney, a big day today. He's 2 out of 3 with an RBI. 98 runs driven in. What a year for him. A base hit makes it 8-4 and perhaps sends Olivares out of the ball game. He's approaching the 100 pitch mark unofficially this afternoon. We're in the 8th. And there's ball 4. That's the last thing Olivares wanted to do. So he hands out the walk. That is only the second he has given up in the game. But they're at first and third with 2 outs now. And here's Joe Randa. He has 16 homers, and Jason Isringhausen getting ready.
You know, there are certain guys that you'll pitch around in a lineup, but when you're 5 runs down, you don't necessarily do that. And I don't think that necessarily Olivares was. He was just trying to stay out of the middle of the plate because Mike Sweeney swings the bat so well. But you don't want to put another runner on base in a game like this. So he was trying to be careful and then was too careful. And you also watch your pitcher. We just saw a shot a minute ago where he was really taking deep breaths on the mound, Olivares. That could mean he's just getting a little tired. He's almost out of gas.
Line drive right back up the middle, a base hit. That scores Beltran. It's an 8-4 game in favor of Oakland. Still 2 on, still 2 out. And that is going to do it apparently for Olivares. So a triple, a walk, and a single ends the day for Olivares. He goes 7 innings and 2/3. He's given up 4. He leads by 4 here at home. Omar Olivares chased, allowing 8 hits, 4 runs so far in 7 innings and 2/3. He's in line to win the ball game. Our copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Jason Isringhausen is on in the 8th inning against Mark Quinn. Isringhausen once the pride and joy of the New York Mets organization. Oakland's trying to make him a closer, and so far the returns have been very, very good for this man. They sent Billy Taylor to New York for Isringhausen and Greg McMichael. And that's in for a strike. Arm trouble really slowed down what was going to be a very promising career for Isringhausen as a starting pitcher in the Mets organization.
He came up with a bang in '95. He was 9-2 with me. He has a great curveball. But then he started to have problems in his shoulder and his elbow. You see that happen a lot with young curveball pitchers who tend to really choke the breaking ball, and it hurts their elbow.
Line drive into center field. Christensen is there. He's got it. And the inning is over. 1 run, 2 hits, 2 more Royals left. It's 8-4 Oakland. Tim Burdack becomes the new pitcher for Kansas City. He is 0-3, as you see. 29th appearance for Tony Muser this season. Here in the 8th, Velarde, Giambi, and Jaha as the Oakland A's try to get back to the lofty levels they achieved in the early 90s. Velarde has had a big day today. He's been on base 3 times, walked, a 2-run homer, also a single today. And down the stretch, if Oakland makes the playoffs, Velarde's a guy that you'd have to consider as their final 2.5-month MVP. A hot shot hit towards Sanchez at short. He gobbles it up, pulls him out, and there's 1 man down. Here's Jason Giambi, a man that's been with Oakland for quite a while and a man who really respects and admires Mark McGwire for the kindness and professionalism he showed him before departing Oakland.
a lot of the reason why I'm here is because of him. Like I tell people, this is a man that hit 49 as a rookie, had hit 201, has hit 70 now. So, I mean, he's seen all sides of the spectrum. So, I mean, his knowledge of the game is unbelievable. That's why he keeps getting better and better every year as he gets older. And he helped me through those learning processes that maybe would have taken me 100 at-bats to learn. Now, he shortened them down and, you know, condensed my learning process a lot faster than say, somebody else's who has one great year, one bad year, one good, you know, okay year. I constantly kept building every year, just learning from him. And, I mean, the only way I could ever repay something like that is maybe teach some younger kid than myself the same lessons he taught me.
How beautiful is that? That's awesome. Mark McGwire is a special guy, and to be appreciated, that's special too, to know that. And that's the entire part of the game. You heard him talk about Mark having talked to him about the mental side of the game. He taught him how to prepare for the game physically. You know, McGwire lifts these dumbbells, 65 to 80-pound dumbbells before a game. I asked him one time, how can you do that? He said, that's how I get loose. He's taught this kid, look at this, he's 30-some pounds heavier than he was when he first came up, and stronger as a result. And I'm sure he'll take that to some younger player. That's the great part. Just keep passing it down.
Well, that's the great nature of this game, the great fabric of it, if you will. It's a game that's passed down from grandfather to grandson, from father to son, mother to daughter, grandmother to granddaughter. And that's a fraternity and a characteristic shared by a great fraternity of these players. A lot of them, for all of their faults, for all of their imperfections, for all of their blemishes, if you will, there are a great majority of players who play this game not for the money, not for the accolades, not for the TV time, but because they love the game of baseball. And it's very refreshing to be able to hear a comment like the one you just heard from Giambi and understanding his role in passing down those wonderful tools that players of the nature of Mark McGwire have blessed him with. That's outstanding.
Well put, it really is. That's what's so great about this game. You talk about father and sons and mother and daughters coming to ball games. Think about all the relationships with my dad, and how about with your grandfather and your father involved in a little different aspect of the game, but it's still part of the game. And look at the fans, the kids are there. And I can remember the first game I ever went to with my dad, the Polo Grounds in New York. I mean, you just don't forget those things. And I can remember the smells, the feelings at the time. Everything was so vibrant still in my mind.
Well, in my opinion, it's the greatest game ever invented. And I think the testament to how great the game is that it survived so many of the things that people have tried to do to it in a century and a quarter. And still here it is, as magical, as fresh, as new, as exciting as it was when Babe Ruth was playing. People today are having the same kind of wonderment over the feats of Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa as they did when Babe Ruth saved baseball in the 1920s. People are amazed and astounded at the mastery and the majesty and the perfection of guys like Pedro Martinez, Greg Maddux, as they were when Christy Mathewson, Cy Young were toiling in their heyday. 1 ball, 2 strikes to John Jaha, and he goes down swinging for out number 2.
You know, young Tim Burdick is on the mound now, the left-hander. Very slight at 5'11", 160. He's only 25 years old, but he's another guy out of Rice University. Boy, they've had some pretty good programs over the last couple of years. Nice breaking ball there. He threw that ball down and under Jaha's hands. And that's the other part about this game that's so great. You don't have to be a giant to play it. You got these guys like Mark McGwire are big and strong, yes, and hit the ball out of the ballpark, but you got the little middle infielders, and guys can be small in this game, little pitchers.
Well, even guys like Eddie Goodell have a place in the game of baseball. At least they did once.
I don't know about Eddie Goodell, the midget that Bill Veeck sent out there, but Greg Maddux is not a big guy, and has just been sensational.
Ozzie Smith wasn't a big guy, but he changed the game defensively at the shortstop position.
Speaking of a guy who changed the game, Maury Wills was not a big guy. Nickname was Mousy, but he was a guy that changed the game in the early 60s, put the speed game back in.
Well, here's an example. How about Billy Wagner? 5'10", 5'11", throws the ball 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. You know, That's why this game is so great, because everybody can play it, and besides that, we can sit here and enjoy it and also second guess.
Or first guess. Occasionally a pop-up down the left side and out of play. Off the bat of right fielder Matt Stairs, who has a double and a run scored to his tally today. He is 1 for 4. Oakland leads by 4 in the bottom of the 8th inning. The A's trying to snap a brief 2-game losing streak, and at the same time snap KC's modest 2-game winning span. Hot shot past Sanchez into left field for a hit. Giambi will stop at second. 2 are on, 2 are out. And Saenz, the third baseman, will stand in again.
Well, I'm looking at Stairs, and it just reminds me he would fit in very well with the old Oakland A's, with all the mustache, the beard, the long hair. The only difference is his pants are down in his shoes. In the old days, that was not part of the way the uniform was worn. Look at his, looked like he got slacks on. But rolling fingers with that turned up handlebar mustache.
Well, they had some great players here, didn't they?
Oh, boy.
Bando and Campaneris, Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, Raleigh Fingers. The list goes on and on. They were amazing in the early 70s. Maybe the worst uniforms in the history of baseball, but one of the best teams.
Well, Charlie Finley did a lot of things in this game that nobody thought at the time made a lot of sense. He tried to put some color in. He even tried the orange baseballs. We tried to play with those. They were so slippery that you couldn't play with them.
Hot shot again towards short, but Sanchez hangs in, feeds Fabulous at second, and that retires Oakland in the 8th. Last chance for Kansas City. They need 4 to tie. Didn't count today, but I'm guessing it's around 10,000-11,000 or so today. A little higher than that. Giambi ground ball towards second. Velarde, good play. Can he make it? Yes, he can. 1 pitch, 1 out in the 9th. A little over 13,000 here today. That's a pretty good crowd for these folks here in Oakland. And let's take a look, Jeff, at our Energizer plays of the game. Oakland, a very powerful ball club, got 2 2-run homers in the 3rd. Miguel Tejada, a 2-run blast. Randy Velarde, a 2-run souvenir job as well in that 5-run 3rd inning, as Oakland jumped out 8-0 and has not looked back.
Well, that does tell you something about a ball club when you get your home runs out of your 8th place hitter and your 2nd place hitter.
Larry Sutton pinch hitting for Tim Spear here in the 9th inning. A couple of home runs, 15 driven in on the campaign for the left-hand hitter. And popped out of play. 1-1 in the count. Boston's in the 9th inning. They're leading Detroit 9-0. And so it appears Oakland will remain 4.5 games back, but they're running out of time. That's got to be a big concern for the Athletics. Can they somehow get on a streak and see the Red Sox stumble a bit? That's going to be the challenge. They're 7 games back of Texas in the West, 4.5 games out in the wild card. Whether they make it or not, it has been a magical year for them here in Oakland. I mean, you can't help but be impressed with the job Art Howe has done. He has weathered the storm here, and there were many here in this town who weren't happy with the way he was running this ball club. They had endured a lot of losing seasons here under Art Howe's tenure as they were trying to build the foundation of this franchise through the farm system. They've decided to go with the kids, and it has paid off in a very, very solid 99 season. That ball is cranked toward right center field. On the run is Christensen. He's got it, and the Royals are down to their final out. Isringhausen's retired. All 3 of the men he has faced, and a very favorable schedule for Oakland as far as their opponents are concerned. Only the Texas team above 500, but a brutal travel schedule as they have to head to Baltimore for that day off makeup doubleheader. They tried to get the game split, but in case of a tie, they didn't want to have to fly them cross country again. Fabulous, the final hope for Kansas City.
Boy, that's so tough because, as we mentioned earlier, they lost those 2 games that they have to make up because of the hurricane, and they lost 2 what they thought favorable matchups. They had a chance to win them. Doubleheaders are so tough to win.
No balls and a strike. 0-2. You'll want to stay tuned after the game. Our pals Keith Olbermann and Psycho Steve Lyons We'll have all the updates from a most exciting day of baseball. Sammy Sosa makes history in Chicago. Big Mac and the Cardinals, big winners. The Reds gain ground in the Central in the National League. So lots to talk about after our game. Ground ball right side. Velarde gobbles it up, throws to first. And the A's have snapped their modest 2-game losing streak, beating Kansas City 8-4, a 13-hit attack. And this very powerful Oakland offense provided 2 big home runs. They jumped out 8-0 and cruised to a win. Back with more right after this. Oakland, the Athletics win at 8-4. For Oakland, 8 runs, 13 hits, no errors. For the Royals, 4 runs, 8 hits, no errors. Omar Olivares picks up the win. He is now 7-1 since joining the Oakland team. Rosado takes the loss, and Jason Isringhausen picks up his 5th save of the year. A little over 13,000 on hand. Watch the A's keep pace with the Boston Red Sox. For Jeff Torborg, Chip Caray, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. Steve Lyons and Keith Olbermann will join you with scores and highlights after this break.